The Vexen Concordat's war fleet convulsed in silence, hulls streaked with glowing teal contagion, as systems failure erupted without warning.
Get me a status report. What is happening to my ships? This is impossible. Our systems are inviolable. Who dares attack us like this?
Commander, it is not an attack. It is a cascade, an unknown process corrupting every subsystem from within.
Find the source. I want every piece of this fleet searched. There is no room for error.
3 days earlier, a Vexen scout had retrieved a curiosity, a tiny gold foil-wrapped probe drifting near their border, its outdated solar panels catching the starlight like a relic from another age. The probe bore ancient human markings, a stylized record, a map to a distant blue world, and a message of peace to the Vexen engineers. It was a curiosity, an artifact from a species so primitive, they still used analog circuits and assembly language. They brought it aboard, cataloged it, and, with the confident carelessness of a superior power, connected it to their fleet network for study. They had no idea that the tiny machine, built in 1977, was about to bring their entire war fleet to its knees. In the high-tech Vexen Science Bay, lead engineer Zelith and cyber warfare specialist Thalix circled the primitive Terran probe like biologists studying an insect.
Look at this relic. Gold foil and a spinning record. It is a museum piece, not a threat.
The design is archaic, but the message is genuine. It carries a greeting from a species that has never known war on our scale.
And its processor runs on assembly code so primitive it cannot possibly interface with our quantum substrates.
Then connecting it to our network is safe? We know nothing about its programming.
Our cyber warfare division defeats logic plagues from 10 dimensions. A child's toy from a backwater planet holds no danger. Plug it in. I want to see what passes for software in this species' infancy.
Zelith hesitated for a fraction of a second, then coupled the ancient data port to the Vexen network hub.
Something feels off. No, just paranoia. It is only a fossil.
Satisfied, Thalix strode out of the bay, leaving the tiny probe silently broadcasting its ancient greeting into the heart of the Concordat fleet network. Within the hour, the probe's slow, analog greeting resolved across a Vexen holographic display. Lines of raw assembly code from another century.
By the Concordat, it is written in a language of jumps and registers. Look at this, they named each memory address by hand.
It is a greeting. It includes images, sounds, a map. They wanted whoever found this to know them.
Know them? They do not even know themselves. This code has no encryption, no anti-tamper. It is a message in a bottle, not a program.
A nearby console flickered. Once, then steadied itself. Zelith's eyes narrowed.
Thalix, did you see that? The monitoring station on Deck 6 just recycled.
It is a power dip. These old bays have unstable conduits. You are seeing ghosts in static.
That was not a power dip. The reset timing matched the probe's data burst.
But Thalix had already turned back to the display, marveling at the quaintness of the Terran transmission, as if it were a child's drawing. Zelith said nothing more, but she logged the incident. A quiet note in the system no one would read until it was far too late. An hour passed. Then, too, the flickers became spasms, spreading from console to console like a cough in a crowded room.
Thalix, it is spreading. 3 more stations just lost coherence. The errors are multiplying.
Impossible. I am running every diagnostic. There is no foreign code, no intrusion signature at all.
The diagnostics were silent. No virus, no logic bomb, just a growing cascade of null-pointer exceptions. Errors so crude they had no name in Vexen cybersecurity.
We should disconnect the probe. It is the only new variable, before this reaches the fleet network.
Disconnect and admit that a Terran toy breached our defenses. I will not be humiliated by a museum piece. It is an incompatibility. The primitive instruction set is confusing our interpreters. I will write a filter.
But the filter did nothing. The null pointers ignored every protocol, tunneling through quantum layers that should have been impenetrable.
Thalix, this is no longer a diagnostic curiosity. We are losing control of entire sections. Pull the plug.
No, I will not be bested by this. This fossil. I will find the pattern. Give me time.
The cascade broke containment. Across the fleet, navigational arrays flickered, thrusters misfired, and weapons safeties reported phantom triggers.
I want Thalix on the bridge now. The entire fleet is degrading. What is causing this insanity?
Commander, Thalix has been fighting a cascade in the lab. We believe it is now in the fleet network.
Then deploy every cyber warfare suite we have. Burn it out. Isolate it. I do not care how. Do it now.
I have deployed quantum disassemblers. Phase splitters, nothing is touching it. The code is too simple to target.
Every sophisticated tool the Vexen possessed was designed to counter high-order logic attacks. Against raw assembly, they were worthless.
It does not have polymorphic signatures or encrypted payloads. It is just moving memory addresses. I cannot intercept it.
Commander, I have completed my analysis. The cascades are synchronized with the Terran probe's data bursts. It is the source.
That primitive device? Impossible. Explain how a museum piece is crippling my entire war fleet.
Its assembly code is so archaic that our interpreters treat each instruction as a direct hardware command. There are no security layers to stop it.
Then disconnect it immediately. Cut the physical link. If the probe is the source, remove it from the network at once.
Technicians scrambled to yank the cables, but the null pointers had already replicated through every open port and buffer in the fleet network.
Commander, the physical connection is severed, but the cascade continues unabated. The probe infected the entire fleet before we pulled the plug.
Then we sever the network. Isolate every ship. I will not have the entire armada collapse because of one primitive machine.
On the holographic schematic, glowing teal lines traced the infection's path from ship to ship, a roadmap of impending failure.
If we isolate each vessel, we might contain the spread, but it will cripple fleet coordination. We will fly blind and defenseless.
Do it. I would rather be blind than dead. Initiate full isolation protocols now.
The isolation protocols activated. Emergency fire breaks across the network, severing every ship-to-ship link in a cascade of disconnections. But the null pointer cascade was already aboard every vessel. Isolation could only slow it, not stop the internal corruption spreading through each ship.
We are only delaying the inevitable. The fleet is dying from the inside out, and there is nothing we can do.
Across the concordant armada, ship after ship fell into system failure. Thrusters misfired, weapons safeties cycled without command, and life support flickered ominously.
Damage report from the fleet. What vessels still have full function?
Commander, every ship reports cascading failures. Thrusters misfire, weapons safeties are cycling, and life support is degrading on 3 vessels. The infection is accelerating.
The null pointer cascade was no longer peripheral. It invaded primary control nodes, rewriting the fleet's digital nervous system, one raw memory address at a time.
There must be a way. Perhaps if we sever the primary command net, cut the fleet's digital spine.
That would stop the cascade from spreading further, but it would also destroy our ability to coordinate. Every ship would be completely blind and isolated.
It would be suicide. Until the cascade reaches the weapons systems, we might still fight. But if life support fails first, we will die anyway.
His gaze fell upon the master override control. The one switch that would sever the entire fleet network in one irreversible act.
If I do this, I condemn us to chaos. If I do not, the cascade will condemn us to death.
His hand hovered over the switch, trembling, as the bridge crew awaited the word that could doom them all, or save the fleet.
Override. Sever the network. Do it now, before we lose everything.
The master override activated, and the Concordat's digital spine snapped. Every ship-to-ship link severed in a cascade of failing light.
Severance complete, Commander, but the cascade still propagates within each vessel. It is embedded in every core.
Then we are no closer to a solution. The fleet is blind and still dying.
In the lab, Thalix had stopped fighting. He was reading the Terran code again, not as a threat, but as a message.
It is a greeting. Just a greeting. Images, sounds, a map. They are saying hello in their own primitive way. Our quantum interpreters are trying to execute every byte as a command. There was never an attack, just a catastrophic misunderstanding.
So the deadliest weapon in the galaxy is a message of peace that our own systems could not comprehend.
Yes, we were humbled by a hello. The irony is almost unbearable.
The fleet drifted, crippled and silent, while the 1977 probe continued its cheerful broadcast. Unaware it had brought an empire to its knees, Zelith isolated the core cascade mechanism. The probe's code generated raw memory, addresses that the Vexen quantum substrates tried to execute as direct hardware commands.
Every byte of the greeting is being interpreted as an instruction to access memory that does not exist. The null pointers stack endlessly.
Then I will write a garbage collector, a low-level memory scrubber that targets the corrupted sectors.
Thalix coded with desperate speed, but each countermeasure triggered more null pointers. The primitive code had saturated every buffer, merged with the fleet's operating system at the machine level.
It is hopeless. Software cannot purge this without destroying core system integrity. The only option is a full hardware reset of every quantum core.
A reset meant a complete power down for 30 seconds, erasing all data, leaving each ship blind and defenseless, and praying the backup firmware would reload cleanly.
And with the network severed, we cannot coordinate the resets. Some ships will not come back online in time. They will drift until life support fails.
But without the reset, the cascade will soon reach life support and weapon safeties. We will be dead before we can fire a single shot.
On the dying ships, oxygen recyclers flickered. Emergency lighting dimmed. The cascade had no mercy. Only the slow, methodical disarmament of an empire. Zelith looked from the probe to the silent fleet schematic. The choice was stark. Accept a slow, humiliating death, or gamble everything on a desperate measure that no one had ever attempted. On Commander Vikarn's flagship, the bridge lights dimmed to emergency red. Life support indicators flashed critical as the cascade ate deeper into the ship's core systems. A sensor technician's voice cut through the stifling heat. Commander, long-range scans detect multiple signatures approaching at high velocity. Enemy warships.
How many and how close? They can smell our blood from a system away.
12 warships, Commander. They will be in weapons range within the hour. We are defenseless. The cascade has locked out all offensive systems.
Then we have no choice. This fleet will not end here. Not like this. Prepare a transmission. We are going to ask for help from the one species who might understand this madness.
Commander, you mean the Terrans. They built this probe. Do you believe they can stop it?
They built it with their own hands. They understand its language. If anyone can find a way to undo this, it is them, no matter how primitive we thought they were.
With a heavy hand, Vikarn authorized the transmission. A concentrated burst of Vexen communications energy lanced out from the flagship, aimed directly at the distant blue dot marked on the probe's ancient map. The message carried a desperate plea. Our fleet is failing. The primitive probe you sent among the stars has become an unstoppable force we cannot control. We beg for your assistance. The Concordat, once the proudest armada in the sector, had been brought to its knees by a hello, and now they could only hope that someone on the other end was still listening. At Arecibo 2, a signal broke every filter. too structured to be natural. Decoded. The message was a plea. An alien fleet crippled by a primitive Terran probe named Voyager 6. Archivists pulled the original firmware file. One name stood out: Kevin Marrowby. Written in 1976, Marrowby was a pioneer of assembly code. His work now ancient history, a ghost from the analog age. The file included a photograph. A young man in a checked shirt, smiling in a lab of reel-to-reel computers. The analysts realized only the probe's original programmer could unravel the null pointer cascade. A global manhunt began for a man in his late 70s. Last seen on old academic directories, records were scoured. Tax files, social security, old corporate directories, searching for Kevin Marrowby. Finally, a match. An elderly man in a small town, still writing code for old machines in his spare time. The question now, would Kevin Marrowby remember the 1977 greeting that had become an interstellar weapon? The agent they found reached Kevin on an old laptop. Her urgent call cutting through the quiet of his cluttered study.
You say my firmware is destroying an alien fleet? That's impossible. I wrote that greeting 50 years ago as a message of peace.
The agent forwarded the intercepted alien transmission and the technical breakdown of the null pointer cascade.
Null pointers from my assembly code. If their quantum cores execute every byte as a command, the greeting itself is causing a memory access violation with every line.
With trembling hands, he pulled a faded binder from a shelf. The original assembly source, handwritten in his youth. The code was as familiar as a childhood memory.
See this loop? It loads the image data block. If their hardware doesn't have memory protection, each byte becomes a pointer to invalid addresses. The cascade will never stop. It just keeps spawning null references. There's only one fix: a hard power cut to every quantum core. 30 seconds of complete darkness that will drain the corrupted state from memory. When they reboot, the backup firmware will reload clean.
The agent on screen hesitated, her face pale. That's suicidal. They'll be completely blind. No sensors, no shields.
Yes, it's dangerous. But if they don't reset, the cascade will corrupt their life support and weapon systems in hours. At least this way, they have a chance. 40 years ago, I never imagined my peaceful code could become a weapon. But now, I am the only one who can disarm it.
Kevin leaned back, the old printout resting on his lap. The fate of an alien fleet depended on a forgotten routine he'd written when he was 27, and the irony was not lost on him. A tight beam link was patched through Earth's deep space network directly to the Vexen flagship, and Kevin Marrowby's face appeared on the alien bridge's main viewer.
Commander Vikarn, I understand my probe has caused a catastrophe. I wrote its code. I know how to stop it.
Then speak. We have enemy warships closing and our systems are failing by the moment.
You must perform a full hardware reset of every quantum core. Cut power completely for 30 seconds, then bring them back online. The corrupted state will be purged.
A full purge that will wipe our tactical memory, navigation logs, everything. It would take days to restore from backups, if the backups are even intact.
You don't have days. The cascade will reach life support within hours. The reset is the only way to break the null pointer loop. I designed it. The firmware checks itself on boot.
30 seconds of being blind and dead in space, while hostiles bear down on us. You ask us to gamble the entire fleet.
Commander, if he is right, it's our only hope. If we do nothing, we die for certain.
Very well. We will follow your protocol, Terran. All ships prepare for immediate quantum core shutdown on my command.
Kevin sat back in his study, the fate of the enemy hovering over an aged engineer's placid face. The reset order had been given. Now the fleet would face 30 seconds. That would feel like an eternity. The order went out on a dying comm, ship by ship. The Concordat's mightiest vessels fell into total darkness. Emergency systems only. No sensors, no weapons, no shields.
Core shutdown on all ships. Confirmed. We are completely blind.
The silence was absolute. No hum of life support, no thrum of engines. Just 30 seconds of drifting in the void while 12 warships closed the distance. On the flagship, Vakarn counted the seconds by the pounding of his hearts. The tactical display was dead. Only a chronometer marked the passing of eternity. One by one, the quantum cores flared white-hot as they executed their hard reset, a silent detonation of corrupted memory. Then, lights flickered back, amber, blue, green, as backup firmware loaded clean. Consoles rebooted, and the fleet gasped back to life.
Quantum cores online. The cascade is gone. All systems report clean. Weapons safeties disengaged. Shields at full.
Confirmed. The infection is purged. Prepare to engage. The enemy will be in range in moments.
The approaching enemy saw the Concordat fleet not as a helpless target, but as a fully armed armada emerging from darkness. 12 warships veered off, retreating into the black. The null pointer cascade was over. In the lab, the Terran probe still broadcast its cheerful greeting, but its cables had been cut, and it sat silent on a table, a museum piece once more. The Vexen Concordat's ruling council assembled in the grand chamber, its curved walls pulsing with the light of 1,000 stars. But the mood was anything but triumphant.
Honored counselors, 3 days ago our entire war fleet was disabled, not by a hostile power, but by a 50-year-old greeting from a primitive world.
Murmurs rippled through the shadowed seats. Vakarn raised the data tablet, displaying the Terran assembly code, its archaic simplicity now a mark of shame.
This code, raw and unencrypted, bypassed every quantum defense because it was too low level to even be recognized as a threat. Our cyber warfare was useless.
A senior counselor rose from the gloom. Are you suggesting we adopt this? Primitive technology? We are the Concordat.
I am suggesting we acquire as much of their obsolete software as possible, not as a weapon, but as a shield. If we cannot defeat this code, we must make it part of our own armor.
Another counselor, known for military strategy, tilted his head. If their outdated tech is immune to our attacks, it becomes the perfect defense against our rivals as well.
Exactly. Earth's programmers understand this language instinctively. I propose a formal trade agreement, access to their retired expertise in exchange for our own advanced technologies.
The council debated for hours, pride clashing with pragmatism. But the memory of 12 warships fleeing in fear carried the day. The vote was carried. The Concordat would open negotiations with Earth for a commodity they never knew they had. The obsolete genius of a bygone age. The communication link chimed again. Kevin set down his coffee as Commander Vakarn's face reappeared, this time with an unexpected proposition.
Kevin Marrowby, the Concordat, seeks a formal treaty. We offer our advanced technology in exchange for access to Earth's obsolete programming languages and your retired experts.
You want to trade star drives for COBOL? I've heard stranger things, but not lately. I'll act as intermediary. Give me a few hours, I'll rally the old guard and present your offer.
The call ended. Kevin stared at the blank screen, then began dialing numbers he hadn't touched in decades. Within days, a motley crew of graying programmers assembled in Kevin's living room. Legends of an era when a megabyte was a miracle.
Listen up. An alien empire wants to hire us as consultants. They think our ancient code is the ultimate defense against quantum cyber warfare. Remember that null pointer bug I told you about? My firmware crashed their whole fleet. Now they want us to build firewalls out of our old junk.
Silence, then a snort of disbelief. An elderly woman in a knitted vest leaned forward. You are telling me my Fortran 77 code is now a strategic asset? Kevin grinned. Exactly. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations are about to pay us a fortune for everything we ever built with punch cards and assembly language. The room erupted within a month. Earth's government sent an envoy to the Vexen flagship to make it official. Commander Vakarn and Kevin Marrowby signed the Concordat Terran Legacy Software Trade Accord in a ceremony broadcast to both species.
Not bad for a greeting card that turned into a doomsday weapon. Let's keep the null pointers on our side this time.
The room, full of old programmers, erupted again, this time at the official banquet, where they were toasted as heroes of a new age. On the science decks, Vexen engineers gathered around vintage human computers, puzzling over floppy disks and CRT monitors with fascination. They loaded assembly code from the archive and watched, amazed, as it executed perfectly within their quantum sandboxes, an alien immune system. News channels exploded with the headline, "Obsolete code saves galaxy. Retired programmers become highest paid consultants in known space." Kevin's desk was soon piled with holographic contracts from species who had heard of the Terran immune code and wanted their own firewalls built in Fortran. The old guard worked side by side with Vexen technicians, reviving languages dead for decades and turning them into galactic defenses. Kevin leaned back in his chair, staring at a framed photo of his younger self in that 1976 lab. The irony was delicious. The obsolete had become unconquerable. In a formal declaration, the Vexen Council announced that the Voyager 6 probe would be returned to Earth with full diplomatic honors, a gesture of newfound respect. Kevin was invited to the science deck to assist lead engineer Zelith in compiling the historical record of the incident for the Vexen archives.
I want to include your original assembly code in the archive. It is a historical artifact now, proof that simplicity can overcome complexity.
I'd be honored. Just make sure they highlight the null pointer bug, the most expensive hello in the galaxy.
They worked side by side for hours. Two engineers from different worlds, formatting the data that would be stored alongside the probe as a testament.
I argued against connecting your probe. Felix overruled me. Now I am grateful. It taught us humility we badly needed.
Every engineer makes mistakes. The smart ones learn. That's why this partnership works. We're not so different.
Later, Zelith supervised the delicate placement of the probe into a ceremonial Vexen case, a crystalline cylinder with gentle internal illumination. She handled it as one would a sacred artifact. The gold foil and ancient antenna, now symbols of an improbable peace. Tomorrow, the probe would be formally returned in a ceremony that would cement a new alliance. The little machine that started a crisis had become the bridge between worlds. The grand hall of the Vexen flagship blazed with ceremony. Humankind ambassadors sat beside alien council members, all eyes on Commander Vakarn at the central podium.
We mocked the Terran probe as primitive. Instead, its simplicity exposed our arrogance. We fought a war against a greeting and lost. But in that defeat, we found a teacher. Kevin Marrowby. Your obsolete code not only saved our fleet, it opened our eyes. The Concordat is in your debt.
Kevin walked up, his old steps steady. Vakarn pinned a glowing circular medal to his jacket, the Concordat's highest civilian honor.
I wrote that code when I was 27, hoping it might say hello to someone somewhere. I never dreamed it'd earn me a medal or a friend.
Two honor guards brought forward the crystalline case containing Voyager 6, its gold foil gleaming under the hall's star-bright lights.
Kevin Marrowby, we return your probe, not as a relic, but as an emissary of peace. May its journey remind us that even the simplest hello can change the universe.
I accept on behalf of everyone who ever dreamed of reaching the stars. This little thing carried our best intentions, and somehow they were enough.
The hall erupted in applause, a thunder of human hands and Vexen harmonic tones, a sound nobody had predicted when the probe was first laughed at. The ceremony ended, but the alliance remained. Kevin cradled the case, knowing that the probe's true mission, building a bridge between strangers, was finally complete. Back on Earth, Kevin's modest home office transformed into the headquarters of Marrowby Legacy Systems, a consultancy that charged astronomical fees for obsolete code. His desk groaned under stacks of holographic contracts. Xanthian Empire, Kelrak Combine. Even a request from a silicon-based civilization needing a PDP-11 emulator.
I retired to write gardening software. Now I am managing a galactic file of COBOL requests from 9 star systems.
The old programmers collective occupied a refurbished warehouse where CRT monitors glowed alongside alien quantum terminals. The image of gray-haired coders hammering out Fortran routines went viral across the interstellar network, making them reluctant celebrities.
50 years ago, we just wanted to say hello. Now we're building shields that can't be cracked because they don't play by the same rules.
Invitations poured in for Kevin to speak at engineering academies across the Spiral Arm. A 78-year-old assembly programmer outlining the death of complexity. He agreed to one, a keynote at the Concordat's own technical institute, where Thalix sat in the front row, taking notes. But what touched him most were the messages from young Terran students, inspired to study dead languages because they had become the galaxy's strongest armor. Kevin glanced at the probe case on the mantle, its golden record gleaming softly, and marveled at how a simple hello had rewritten the rules of interstellar defense. Years later, the probe rested in a quiet hall of the National Air and Space Museum, its golden record still as brilliant as the day it was launched. Kevin Marrowby walked slowly toward the display, his steps a bit slower now, but his eyes still sharp behind his glasses.
There she is, still carrying the same old hello I wrote 50 years ago.
On the wall beside the exhibit, a museum placard included a black and white photograph of a young engineer in a 1976 lab holding a stack of punch cards.
That kid had no idea his code would one day stop an alien fleet and start a friendship.
A young family approached the display, the children pressing their faces to the glass, awestruck by the little machine that had traveled so far.
That's what it was always about, reaching someone. And somehow we did.
He watched them a moment longer, then turned to the golden record, its silent grooves holding the sound of a distant world that had once been his whole universe. The museum halls buzzed with the murmur of a dozen species now. Vexen, human, and others all come to see the probe that taught the galaxy that sometimes the simplest solution is the most powerful. Kevin stepped back, his heart full. He had said hello, and the universe had answered in ways he could never have engineered. The golden record on Voyager 6 caught the museum light, its grooves still pristine after decades in the void. It began to spin, a silent rotation that recalled its ancient mission, to carry a greeting across the stars. The image dissolved into a star field, the record spinning in the vastness it once traversed, a tiny ambassador still at work. That simple assembly code, written by a young man with a dream, had become something no quantum logic could predict, an unbreakable shield. Not because it was advanced, but because it was so primitive. It fell beneath the notice of the galaxy's greatest defenses. It halted a war fleet, not with force, but with a catastrophic misunderstanding of peace. And in the end, it fulfilled its original purpose, to connect strangers across the impossible distance. The museum hall was quiet now, but the probe's legacy was anything but silent, for the galaxy had learned a truth that Kevin Marrowby always knew. Sometimes the most powerful weapons are the ones never meant to be, and Voyager -6 continued its silent, eternal journey. A simple hello that had rewritten the rules of an empire and united two worlds.